Greetings, film freaks. We are the Podcorn Kernels. Join us as we discuss the hard and often indigestible truths that are at the center of the fluffy and delicious world of cinema.
What's poppin', people? Welcome to the Podcorn Kernels podcast. My name is Adam, and joining me in your earholes is Harry. Say hello, Harry.
Whoa, Mac, you piece of shit.
On today's episode, we will be talking about The Fighter. This is a 2010 film directed by David O. Russell and stars Mark Wahlberg, Christian Bale, and Melissa Leo. IMDb describes the synopsis as follows. Mickey Ward, a struggling boxer, tries to escape the shadow of his more famous but troubled older boxing brother to earn his own shot at greatness. Here is an original song to support the synopsis.
High on Crack Street, trying to make ends meet, a frustrated merry-go-round. Oh, the rock that is so sweet, I'm drowning in defeat. Brother, please help me now. Boxing brothers who love one another, sisters and their shrill sounds. Dickie had promised, but let's just be honest, Mickey's better pound for pound.
Quagga! Let's start with some facts about the film. Mark Wahlberg waived his own salary and took no upfront fee for this film. Christian Bale was paid only $250,000 for his role.
Why did Wahlberg go do this?
I guess it's a passion project.
Oh, okay.
I guess he loves the story that the film was telling and was so committed to it being made that he was like, no, it's right, I won't take money. What makes me laugh is they say Christian Bale was paid only $250,000.
And he'd already made his worth. I mean, this came in post Dark Knight, didn't it?
Yeah, this is a 2010 film, so yeah, I believe so.
Post
yeah.
Batman Begins. Didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so crazy. I mean, 250 grand.
Only.
To do your... I think it was his first Oscar-winning performance.
Yeah, he won an Oscar, so I'm sure most actors would take a reduced cut of pay to get the most coveted award within the industry, right? Surely.
Good of Wahlberg to do that, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would have been a better fact if Christian Bale also was like, oh, you know what, I don't want any money either. I'll match Mark and we'll both do this for free. But he still had to get a little bit. And a little bit, $250,000's not a little bit of money, is it? It's not minimum wage.
But I read it only had a 25 million budget, which is small in today's worlds of budgets.
Yeah.
That's quite small.
Considering David O. Russell's a well-known established director, you look at his body of work, American Hustle, Silver Linings Playbook.
I've only seen Three Kings.
I loved Three Kings.
I loved it.
But you'd imagine that his salary must have been quite hefty to get him on board.
Maybe. He likes his character pieces, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He likes realistic scenarios, realistic people. You can always tell, you see that in his work. I mean, obviously, like I said, I've seen Three Kings and now I've seen The Fighter. But yeah, it's made me intrigued to watch the others. I was going to watch Silver Linings, but at the time I think I was a bit, can't be bothered for Bradley Cooper and Mockingbird.
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence.
At the time, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's better films of his out there. I haven't seen his newest offering, Amsterdam, but American Hustle's a decent film. Again, I think it's on a true story. Three Kings was based on a true story, right? Is that right?
I don't know if it was. I wouldn't be surprised, but it's a great, crazy, weird story set in the Gulf War, isn't it? About getting their money's worth before they go home. Brilliantly casted. Wahlberg's in that as well.
Yeah,
doesn't look any different.
No.
Yeah, he looks after himself, that man.
He really does. Dickie Eklund did not like how his mother and sisters were portrayed in the film.
Trash.
He yelled at Christian Bale after a screening in anger. His sisters also did not like their portrayals. Beaver Eklund walked out of a screening of the film in protest.
I watched High on Crack Street, Lost Lives in Low... How do you pronounce it? Lowell. It's Lowell, isn't it?
Lowell, I think so,
I think it's, yeah. Or Lowellians, yeah.
And it's worth saying that's the documentary the film's based on.
Yeah, the HBO documentary. Yeah. You do see a glimpse of sisters in it, and visually, they're very similar.
Yeah, I mean, it might be a bit unfair of me to sound as judgmental and say they're white trash, but they pretty much are. They squawk, they're shrill. There's, 8 of them?
Yes,
something like that.
7 girls, 2 boys.
And I think the fact that one of the real sisters walked out Dickie was kicking off because of how these sisters and mothers portrayed. The fact that it was so turbulent, their reaction to it suggests that they are probably a problem.
Doesn't that support the depiction of them?
What are you talking about? I don't talk like that.
Yeah, and some of the nicknames, Beaver,
Red Box,
Red Dog, I
Oh,
think.
Dog. Red Dog.
Some questionable nicknames. But I think the casting of the sisters were pretty decent because I feel in the context of the film they're meant to be unlikable. They all have to get their opinion heard. They're all loud. They're like a mob mentality, aren't they? They're a group of.
I think it's a realistic depiction of that sort of. I suppose for us in England it would be the UK chav or the council estate chav. It's their equivalent for the Boston, Massachusetts sort of chavs.
Yeah, it speaks of a group of people that are loud, always looking for confrontation. They may have their best intentions at heart.
The beering all day.
Importance of family and how family is more important than everything else. But certainly that type of person, I think it's difficult to get on board with, isn't it?
Oh, terrible, yeah. I even wrote down, because it was one of my dislikes, I'd be jumping a gun, but because you brought it up, I put White Trash Sisters, the Chavs of Massachusetts, the Bin Rummagers, the Man Eaters, the Smoky Breath Bandits, the Blood Guffs, and Trash Tribe. And
I think it's worth saying we both come from council home backgrounds, so we're not looking down our nose at these people, but these are really, I mean, these people are out there, but they're the worst of these sorts of people. The sort of people that if you're from Britain, you would see on Jeremy Kyle's show. Matt Damon and Brad Pitt were previously attached to play Dickie Eklund, but the role went to Christian Bale, who went on to win an Academy Award. Before Bale's casting, Mark Wahlberg talked to Eminem about taking the role, but Eminem ultimately declined in order to work on his music.
You hear that a lot, don't you? I mean, me and you specifically, I suppose, just through films that we've been doing, we hear a lot about how he was potentially in line to be in the film. And I'm just like, that's mad that a lot of people want him in their movie.
He seems to be highly coveted.
I'm glad he holds back from saying yes, though, because when we've had recent conversations about musicians, actors keep swapping roles and they do it at the early start of their career where they haven't really earned much respect yet. But Eminem, obviously, he gets offered a lot. I think he even wanted to do he was going to be the lead in a Grand Theft Auto 3 movie.
Wow.
You know, the Grand Theft Auto that made it this huge franchise it was. First time it was 3D, open world, etc. And that didn't come to fruition. But there's so many films that he's a prospect for.
I think people within Hollywood must have seen 8 Mile and been blown away by his performance. Because, it's based on his true life.
Well-paced film.
But, I mean, he performs it really well. And I agree with you. I sort of err on the side of caution when it comes to musicians going onto the big screen or actors going on to be musicians. But in the case of Eminem, I'd quite like to see him do more acting roles because I think he's a highly intelligent man. I mean, you look at his lyrics, you look at what he's able to do with the English language and the songs he writes. He's not rapping about bling and women and making money.
He's revolutionary.
Exactly.
When I was at school, when I heard his raps, I'd never heard anything like it. Everything was always gangbanging and streets and stuff. And when he came on the scene, he was singing about, spitting in a burger or homosexuality and stuff. He was so clever. And like kidnap and murder and that, it was like he was like edgy as hell.
Really
but instances
edgy.
where it does work, like I think Timberlake does a good job. Like he had such a huge music career, and when he finally started to get away from music, he dips his feet into some cameos and some comedy stuff. And in his little tenure in Inside Llewellyn Davis was fine. That's a great example. Isaacs, like an actor who did the music, sang, and actually played for a film. That's different. That's beautiful commitment.
And it helps that Isaacs has actually got a great singing voice.
Amazing.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Amazing. So I suppose it works if it's in that regard. But
could you see Eminem playing Dickie Eklund?
It would be a very different film.
Yeah, I can't. For me, he feels like he's too young to be playing Dickie Eklund. I know this film was 12 years ago, but I consider him. I guess Eminem's recently turned 50, so him and Christian Bale are probably a similar age, I guess. Just feel Christian Bale's older. I don't know why. Might be the bleach blonde hair.
Who would have been his counterpart?
Well, it would have been Mark Wahlberg.
So Mark Wahlberg would have been okay. No,
I couldn't see it.
No, you need stone cold pro and someone who can character act their arse off.
But then again,
and that's where Bale. That's why he got an Oscar. I don't think any other actor I could think of at the time, apart from maybe Sam Rockwell, could have pulled an Oscar for that.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Although Eminem does know the sort of white trash experience. because he came from like a broken home, a troubled family. So maybe him in that role, maybe he would have done. We'll never know, obviously, but maybe. I think it would have been interesting. As I said, I'd love to see him act in more films.
Again, distracting. I mean, if someone said to me tomorrow, Bale's doing a bass guitar solo at the Royal Albert Hall, do you want a ticket? I'd say yeah.
I was just going to say, you're going to turn that down?
I would never turn it down. What a weird experience, a bass solo. But I would be confused by his career choice, and it would make me feel very odd about watching him in films post bass guitar solo.
See, there's some actors that I'm here for anything they churn out, and Christian Bale is one of them, one of those names.
Cookbook.
He could do anything, and I think the man is such a enigmatic personality that he could do anything, and I'd be like, well, I'll see what that's like. And that it's worth me saying he's also known to be quite a handful, quite a dickhead. You look at him kicking off at a film as below par as Terminator Salvation and completely losing his head.
Commitment.
Yeah, you can look at that at one hand and be like, oh, he's just a prima donna actor who has to have everything his way. Or you look at it on the other hand and be like, well, he's a consummate professional, and even if he's doing a throwaway action film, he wants everything to be right. He expects a level of professionalism in whatever he does. And I think there is that dividing conversation to be had about Bale. I'm certainly pro Bale. I think he's amazing.
I think if he did a cookbook, it wouldn't be recipes, it would be waistlines, the many waistlines of Bale. And he gives you a recipe of how to get to starvation and then how to get to vice.
Yeah.
Was it Vice? Played Dick Cheney, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
he's a real chonky boy.
Yeah, like that up-downing. It's almost impossible for me to imagine how to like lose weight.
Yeah.
And then like to willingly gain it.
Yeah. And it's the nuances in which he does that. Like you say, he can be really fat, but then he can be chiseled and like ripped or really lean. I guess if you're a multimillionaire and you've got a handful of nutritionists and personal trainers, it makes it easier. Mm-hmm. But I know this about you. You're not a fan of the Bale body weight up and down, are you?
I think it's too much.
Yeah.
I think he's done it too much, and it's in probably a short amount of time as well, 15 years, maybe more. When did American Psycho come out?
2000, maybe 2001.
It's one of the older ones, isn't it? But that's where he was quite just pristine, I suppose. And then obviously you got Machinist, Fighter, Vice,
Rescue Dawn.
Rescue
gets
Dawn,
very
American
skinny.
Hustle. He looks a bit bulky.
I think he's bigger than when he was in.
It's a lot of jumping, and I find if that becomes the affectation of him, then that's what you keep expecting. It's like M. Night Shyamalan, and you're like, there's going to be a twist, or it's Michael Bay, there's going to be explosions. It's Bale, there's going to be a weight change, which is not the first thing you should think of, is it? You should just think great performance, or like he's such a good actor. But watching The Fighter, obviously, I see the value in it. Like he's brilliant in The Fighter. But I've watched the documentary High on Crack Street, Lost Lives of Lowell. And even that guy didn't look that thin and gone.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Maybe overdoing it.
It's hard to capture it unless he was reading The Many Wastes of Bale.
That's a great title. I would buy it and read that. I'm not going to lie. I'd do it immediately. I'd offer that.
You like the method, though, don't you?
I do. To a point. If it helps if I like the actor. So, but if Jared Leto's doing it, no, because I don't think you've got the talent to back up the method. If it's someone like Christian Bale doing it, Daniel Day-Lewis, the talent's there, the charm, the charisma's there. I think if you look at it from a director's standpoint, if you've got an actor there that's like, you know what, I can throw my name into any ring because I can be fat, I can be really skinny, I can be chiseled, I can be butch, I can be lean, whatever physicality you need from me, I am determined and willing to do that. And I think if from a directing perspective, that's got to be a positive, right? Yeah,
but the best things in life, I suppose, are an acquired taste, so it should be few and far between. You shouldn't eat caviar every day or something, because then it loses its effect at being highly prized. That's why I love McConaughey's transformation for Dallas Buyers Club. For almost all of his career, he'd never changed physically or to look at. He was always remained the same and would do his acting or his rom-coms and stuff. And then he does Dallas Buyers Club. It's more of a shock to see the transformation. Because Bale does it so much, I'm no longer even shocked. It's lost its effect. So it's like a terrorist attack. Too many of them, you stop caring.
Yeah, okay. So it becomes less of a novelty and more of an expectation, right? And I can see why you'd have a problem with that.
It's not a problem. I still admire him I think he's a great actor and stuff. I just that comes to mind straight away. I see a Bale film and I'm like, wonder what he weighs.
Yeah. What did you like about The Fighter?
Dialogue's very sharp and believable, and it matches the character believability, which is, it's always present in the David Russell films I've seen. Like, there's a really natural rebounding between characters. Like, they're almost just human. Like, you've walked into a cafe or a barber's and people are having a conversation. That's what his films always remind me of. The dialogue, just the way that actors are so believable in it. It's very realistic. Like, it's not even this film's not even cheesy or hammy. There's nothing really unbelievable in it. The conversations are very real.
Yeah.
I always enjoy that. Like, straight from the get-go, I think you even mentioned to me that one of the trainers is actually the real trainer in real life, the guy with the tash. What's his name?
Mickey O'Keefe.
Mickey O'Keefe, that's it, yeah. And because I watched the documentary, I was like, dude, they casted a guy who looks the spit of him.
Yeah.
And you were like, same dude.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, but just that naturalistic chatter that they have all throughout the film.
Mm.
I find that captivating because I'm all for realism in films.
Yeah.
If you go to the theatre, and I love the theatre, I love musical theatre, etc., you're seeing a huge over-the-top experience because it has to be.
Yeah.
But when it comes to film, I only ever want to delve deeper into realism, be it the dialogue, the consequences, and how real it is to life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that there's no real flourish or garnish on it, you compare David O. Russell's script and screenplays to the likes of Quentin Tarantino. Tarantino's is all bells and whistles, and O. Russell's is certainly a more grounded. And I think when it's based on a true story, it can't have this over elaborate interaction between characters who, you know, they're, like we mentioned earlier, they're deemed white trash, so they're not going to be really eloquent.
But done
in the way
so
they speak.
effectively.
Yeah.
I mean, almost to a point where you're like, are people actually like that there? But you see a few films set in Boston, like Good Will Hunting's one, and some of the support cast that you see in the bars and that are the same as well. And again, I think Matt Damon and Affleck were both Boston boys, Southies, weren't they?
Yeah.
And so they've got quite a big affiliation with Boston, and you can believe it. I met a couple of girls from Boston, and you can believe it.
Yeah.
The stories they tell you and stuff, it's like, well, that's definitely their thing.
There's a certain reputation with people from Boston. They're quite brazen, quite brash.
Well, we got our Vicky Pollard, didn't we? So if you even know of Little Britain, that depiction, or Catherine Tate's Am I Bothered?
Yeah.
We've got our depiction of chavs in the UK. I think Boston's the equivalent.
And we know people that are like the characters that you've just mentioned.
Yeah.
So I think there is a level of authenticity about Boston with these sorts of characters.
Trash pandas,
Hundy P. What else did you like about The Fighter?
Oh, the music, man. And do you know where it really got me? And because I didn't even know this song was quite well known. So when I say Bee Gees to you, what comes to mind?
Staying Alive.
Staying Alive, exactly. So there's a song by the Bee Gees sung by Robin Gibb. I started a joke.
Yes.
And Christian Bale
Tune.
sings it to his mum in the car. And that's only one of like 5 or 6 songs in this film, which are brilliant. But that one's actually in the scene. It's not offset.
Yeah.
That really captured me. I rewound it a few times because I just thought, I love that that's even in this film. Because it's such a beautiful song. And it's quite a tragic song. The fact that he sings it to his mum to sort of almost self-admit to her, like, remember the good days when I was successful. Yeah. Don't get upset for me now. He's quite a gentle heart, even though he's, a crack addict. For context. Yeah. Christian Bale's character, Dickie, is a crack addict after having an extremely successful boxing career. Or could have been great. But yeah, man, the music, brilliant. Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, I think.
There's some bangers in there, that's for sure.
I think music's just, if you use it well, it can just help a film.
Yeah.
Just help it along. And this one's full of some tunes.
It's that the one that I love is Here We Go Again on My Own.
It's Whitesnake.
Yeah, when they're walking to the ring together. So the story's about the two boxing brothers. One of them is effectively a has-been and the other is on the up and up. And when they're walking to the ring together, they're singing that song together, Here I Go Again on My Own. And it gave me goosebumps.
They're in London for that, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a few songs within the film. The one you mentioned in the car with Christian Bale and Melissa Leo.
I started the joke.
Yeah, a mother-son dynamic. She doesn't want to admit that her son's a crack addict, and he doesn't want to admit to his mum that he is. They both know that he's a substance user. He's in well too deep. His judgment's gone. He's clouded.
Well, he took his mum from backstreet Boston Catholic mum who's banged out 9 kids to front page mum. Look how great my son is. So she's still holding on to his glory. And hoping for him to reprise his return to that glory. Yeah. And in the meantime, ignores her younger son, who's his half brother. They're different dads. Yeah. ignores her younger son almost to the point where he's actually going to get injured in a fight and that because they're not looking clearly at the scenario. So it's great, and it's the fact that it's a true story. I think even adds to it.
It really does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Any more likes?
I love the way they shot the whole boxing fights, or like even the walk-ins, because they were done in the same vein as a real life boxing match. So they'd have the shaky over the shoulder camera, the build up, the guys who zoom in on the corners and stuff. It wasn't shot like Rocky, like a movie. It was shot like a documentary, or like just real footage. I thought that was kind of cool, edgy. Like it added an element to it that was quite. Here's the film, and now's the actual boxing match. So it sort of separated the two. So it wasn't motion picture almost when it came to the boxing. Yeah,
it added another layer to it, didn't it? Because in the film, Dickie's is on the belief that a documentary's being filmed about his return to boxing.
He's lying to himself.
Yeah, where in fact it's a documentary about his crack addiction, and he's fall from grace. So within the film, you're watching a motion picture, then you're watching a mockumentary style within the film, and then the boxing scenes, like you say, that almost again feels like another documentary. So it's like an Inception type vibe of a documentary within a film. Yeah. And it's really well handled and put together.
Yeah.
I thought that as well. And sometimes
not meta, but layered.
Yes, we'll go with that. And sometimes with these sorts of films, you see the fights and you're like, well, I know they're not really punching each other, but you can really tell they're not punching each other. In The Fighter, it does have a element of realism. Like you say, the over shoulder shots makes it feel like it's happening. Yeah, it's clever, isn't it? Yeah. I think my favourite thing about the film is the man himself, Christian Bale. I'm a huge fan of him, and I thought he was exceptional in this. I thought he really excels in the role of Dickie Eklund, and the nuances of his performance gives a larger-than-life character, like you touched on, a genuine believability. I think it takes an actor of Bale's calibre to really drive home this film's success. Because you could, Dickie Eklund, you see real footage of him at the end of the film, and you know, if you watch the documentary like we have, you see he is a larger than life character. With a lesser actor with that character in their hands, it could feel almost spoofy, almost like a parody, because he is so out there and outlandish. And the fact he's on crack for a lot of the film, he could be really over the top. But he manages to sort of blend the more serious moments with the comedic moments and give a really good performance that I thoroughly think he deserves the Oscar for this.
Yeah, I wish I watched it when it came out. I've left it obviously so long, 12 years, or however long I've left it. Because I didn't realise like how bloody good he is in it. It's such a great performance. And do you know what? It's probably one of the more safer characters nowadays for a strong method actor to take on. Because, you know, it's drug addiction. Yeah. You can't exactly rehearse for that.
No.
You know, and it's great because I think it's that role can't be touched. It can't be criticised. It can't be 10 years from now brought into the limelight as all questionable. It's quite timeless.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah. I think his performance stood out from almost the whole film. Yeah. Like it's almost like two films running parallel, the Dickie story and then the Mark Wahlberg boxing film.
Yeah, it's totally. Like yeah. And it's clever that it manages to balance the two without it thinking that one's not getting enough exposure or one's being favoured over the other. The way they run concurrently, I think makes the whole package feel like a really decent piece of work. Yeah, like you said, I love how gripping the film is. The Fighter is a fascinating true story that doesn't pull its punches when telling a turbulent tale of tricky families and drug addiction. I thought the chemistry between Bale and Wahlberg, the performances of everyone involved, and the mockumentary style of filming, they all combine to create this really engrossing and entertaining runtime. A film like this, it is heavy in parts, but it's also oddly uplifting.
It's comical.
And it is strangely funny in parts.
I was creasing up on his numerous exits from a crack house through a top window into bin bags. Yeah. Especially the second one when his mum's gone round the back, because all you hear is Bale screaming and hit bin bags.
Yeah, and then like scurries away and he tries to like hide the fact that he's just jumped from a window. Yeah, there's a fair few moments within the film that I found funny.
Crack addicts, they are funny. I don't care what anyone says. Watch the High on Crack Street. It's tragic. It is.
Yeah.
But it's done in such a way where there's just this mad element of comedy. Like nothing shocks a crack addict. And it's just insane what they do, what they get up to. The brazenness of it.
There is something to be said. And, you know, it's important that you prefaced it with saying, you know, it's a very serious thing. It's not funny. But when someone's not in control of their own inhibitions, Like, you know, if you're out drinking with someone, then they're 4 or 5 pints ahead of you and they're well on their way and you're not. You're watching them thinking, fucking hell. But if you're there matching the drink, you have no idea the shenanigans you're getting up to.
Yeah, you're in the same boat. Aren't you?
Exactly, yeah. So watching the documentary from a sobering point of view and the way it is edited and stuff and the way it's cut, I think it probably is intentional, because if there wasn't those little bits of comedy in a really draining subject matter, it'd be so difficult to watch. And the fact they're so oblivious to what they're doing, that is the comedy of it. They have no idea.
I think any film about addiction is so frustrating for an audience because you don't want to see them fall into that hellhole. It's like Flight with Denzel. Like, just watching him keep breaking his own like addiction. He can't do it. Like, he tries, and then he drinks right like day before court. You're like, oh, for fudge's sake! Like in this film again, when they have a falling out so Dickie gets out of prison and he comes back to try and train his brother, and his brother's like, look, a few people think you're bad for my career, etc. Then Dickie leaves and you think, oh, for God's sake, he's going to go and do crack. And it's great because he walks this get out of jail happy cake to a crack house, and he hands it to him and walks off, and it's a bit of relief, like, oh, thank God he didn't carry on.
Yeah, you needed that, didn't you? Imagine the film went the other way and you just walked in there and just did a crack rock straight away. It'd be a completely different film.
Well, that's like Requiem and Trainspotting. They're probably the best examples of anti-drug films, but they're taxing to watch.
Yeah, I think that there is definitely a place for films like this where it shows that as tricky as addiction can be, it can be conquered. It takes a fucking lot of hard work and time and effort and patience and all of those things, but it can be done. And I, for one, happy that the film does end on a positive note, because imagine it didn't. It would be, like you say, another Requiem where afterwards you're like, fucking hell.
Yeah, and if you read more into the real life people after that stuff, their lives only seem to get better.
That's good.
Like, they earned their reputation. They ended up owning a gym and a ice hockey rink and stuff. And the film as well helped them, obtain some success, some much long awaited success. So it's nice, even in real life, the story ends well.
Yeah,
not for obviously some of Dickie's mates. They probably on that toothless stuff. Yeah, getting browned up.
Do you think watching an addict like Christian Bale's character is within the film, he sees that the documentary is about his drug addiction, and that sort of sobers him, and he realises? Do you think the people that had this documentary, the real one made about them, do you think they would watch that and it would kick them into the straight and narrow, or do you think it would just make them dive deeper into despair?
Well, I think with Dickie, it's seeing his son, and obviously he's now gone cold turkey because he had to, because he's in prison. I think seeing his son and the effect that it has, like seeing his dad keep going away to prison and stuff, heartbreaking. And I think that's where if you get someone sober for 4 or 5 weeks and then you hit them with that, I think it sinks in. I think if they've only just used, you're talking to a brick wall, you won't get anywhere with them.
Yeah.
So I do believe him going to prison helped him get clean, and then I think seeing that documentary sobered his mind. But in terms of the film's actual chronological events, I think he goes to prison again after his brother's success.
Oh, he relapses?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
so I think after his brother's success, he still ends up back in, but he gets clean eventually. Yeah. I think it all helps, doesn't it? I mean, you try to quit smoking, etc. You can do great for 25 days.
Yeah.
Perfect. It takes one thing to throw you off.
Yeah.
Argument with your partner, anything. A bit of road rage, and
work
all you
stress.
can think of is a cigarette. So I've relapsed on tobacco.
Yeah.
Or even a Guinness or something.
Yeah.
So that's a very, very, very tiny comparison, because the element of addiction is obviously ridiculous when it comes to crack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's not comparable when you're looking at Class A drugs to a cigarette or a pint after not having them for a while.
No.
Yeah, and it's worth saying, I think the film is a really fair and clever representation of addiction, of dealing with it. It's not a straight line. It's not like, right, I've started doing this, I'm going to stop. It ebbs and flows, and there's relapses, there's hurdles along the way. Like you say, the smallest inconvenience can set you off to go and do it. And the film, balanced with the comedy and the fact it is just fully entertaining, just makes it a complete...
I kind of really liked the fact that his family and even Mark Wahlberg's character, for instance, weren't constantly throughout the film telling him, you got to quit this, you got to stop. No one really is ever actually saying it to him.
No, because they want the payout.
Well, no, I know, but like they're not... no one's saying to Christian Bale's character throughout the film...
I see. Yeah.
oh, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? It didn't focus on it. It's like that we've learned to accept that this is Dickie.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool because even the characters within the film are only sober to it when they watch the HBO doc.
Yeah.
And they see it for how tragic it really is.
Yeah.
But because he's so polite, so fun, like when you see at the start, there's a walking sort of entrance to the film where he takes Mark Wahlberg from Flattening a Road, who's a road worker, and they walk the streets of Lowell, and they're seeing all the neighbours, and Dickie's just charismatic. I mean, we've known some charismatic drinkers,
yes,
and they can hold people's attention. But
yes,
you can't
deny
doors. The tragedy,
the
real tragedy behind closed doors, and what it actually does to you long term. So I found that really realistic and fascinating. Like, it wasn't all everyone screaming for him to get off the crack.
Yeah,
like,
it wasn't 2 hours of intervention, was it?
No. Which would have lessened the film.
Like you say, the more realistic take is, well, this is who he is. But if he's not on it, he's struggling. Like it's separate from our lives with Dickie. So we know he goes to this house and he does this thing, but he needs to do that thing to cope with his bad back. He's feeling of not being successful because he never quite made it. And that would have a huge impact on you, wouldn't it? If you was this promising boxer, the almost man, nearly there, that would knock you for six. Of course it would.
Yeah.
Yeah. What didn't you like about The Fighter?
White Trash Sisters, Chavs of Massachusetts, the Bin Rummagers, the Man Eaters, the Smoky Breath Bandits, the Blood Guffs, and the Trash Tribe.
Yeah, they're their official titles, aren't
they? Done well.
Yeah.
If you do your research, you watch a few of the documentaries that support that, and any other film sort of set in Boston, there is this, it could be called a stereotype, but I do think where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah,
and I think them birds are quite realistic, but it's just the way that they're not allowing a calm situation to resolve itself. They're just pecking away, and they observe fractures in their family as entertainment. They're like, it's almost gladiatorial.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, let's watch these bitches go for it. I love it when Amy Adams has a ruck with them.
Yeah.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
It's so trash.
They're just a horde of chaos, aren't they?
They are.
And they have it's like they've got one voice. Like it's not, this is Beaver's turn to talk, or this is Red Dog's turn to talk. When there's scandal or uproar, they're all there squawking. It doesn't.
I'd say it's realistic. I used to have old neighbours living next. When I lived with parents, I had old neighbours, just exactly the same. Chav couple, 7 kids. There was people coming from estates nearby to fight them on their drive, to argue with them. There was drunken fights all the time. There's all these rumours of cheating and stuff. So it's like I've literally lived next door to it. Yeah. And you just know the brand. The only thing that's different is they're American, we're English. Other than that, these breed of human bull terriers are real. Yeah. They exist.
They do exist.
And the saddest thing is it's just their aspirations. There's just none.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay to work hard and love your hobbies and stuff and be a stand-up citizen, but these people sit, drink beer, smoke, and judge people all day. And
they are direct products of their environment. You see it over here as well. You have those families like you speak of. That's what they see when they're young. Guess what happens when they grow up? They do exactly the same. Have kids. What do those kids do? Do exactly the same.
Well, they show you it in the film, don't they? When Bale gets sort of thrown out of the gym by Mark Wahlberg, his own brother, he punches a locker twice. And then his little boy jumps off a little step and goes over to the locker and starts punching it.
So sad, isn't it?
So that's great because that shows you that, and it's real. They will look at what you do, and if they look up to you, especially if you're a huge character, they're going to start taking on them traits. Yeah, which is that's sad. You need to break them lines of handing down dodgy genes and
breaking free of them restraints.
Yeah, weird actions.
Yeah, and it's worth saying this while we're speaking of this. We're not necessarily being snooty judgmentals within the film. I think these characters are written to be unliked. They're the peril. So they're the mum who's overbearing and thinks she's got the best interest of the son at heart. Not necessarily true. She wants a payout. She wants to feel that elation of her son being the talk of the town, so to
living
speak.
On his coattails.
Exactly that. Yeah. So within the film, that family, the immediate family to Dickie and Mickey. Dickie's going through an addiction crisis. You, as a viewer, as a consumer, you want him to overcome it. As an audience member, you want Mickey to prevail. You want him to become a champion. Mm-hmm. The family that are surrounding them, I think they're meant to be so detestable that you and I sitting here almost judging them is what was meant to happen. Yeah. That's what David O. Russell was looking for, right?
Well, it's so true as well. You think of like weddings, birthdays, funerals. It should be about the people that are getting married or the person's birthday, etc. But then you get these little rat-like families that start stressing you out and start eating away at you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, if they're going, then I'm not going and stuff. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I hope you're not going to do that. I hope you're not cooking this. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Get out.
Politicized nonsense.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
fiendish rat things.
Yeah. Yeah. What else didn't you like about the film?
Now, I know it's cinema. I know it needs its sound effects, but I am sick of the Batman comic thwacks and kaboom sounds in boxing films. Oh, it annoys me. Like, so we've started to see in space films that they respect physics and law with sound. Explosions no longer have sound in space films. They've started to realise that it's highly unrealistic. So why can't they just go a little bit step further, watch some real boxing matches, ones where, you know, maybe it was COVID and there's no audience, but you can hear it. It's more of a wispy sound with the occasional thud.
Yeah.
Wispy with thuds. I hate it, man. I'm sick of watching boxing films. And another one recently was $1 Million Baby, which I thought was trash. I know people love that film.
Yeah,
I couldn't get past it. So unrealistic. So unrealistic. The fact that they'd let a woman keep hitting people after a bell and she wouldn't be disqualified from boxing is absolute nonsense. And then hits her when she's turned her back to her, breaks her neck, and then she's in hospital, bites her tongue off. I'm like, this is who wrote this script?
Clint Eastwood.
But the thwacks and the kabooms, it annoys me. And that sort of not defending yourself. I mean, I've watched hundreds of boxing matches, and it's just I want to see one that's real, man.
Yeah.
I want to see one that isn't boom, and a guy just not defending himself for 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden gets a cheeky one in and wins.
Yeah.
I want it to be better.
Yeah, it is distracting. When you watch a boxing fight, you hear the audience. You don't necessarily hear every blow of every punch, do you? Like in this film, every punch is whoosh, and I'll give you that.
It's very rare that a boxer gets held against the ropes for as long as they do in these films.
Yeah.
Like, a ref would just stop it. If a guy isn't defending himself and he's getting hit in the kidneys repeatedly and he's just standing against rope, which happens a lot in this film.
Yeah.
It wouldn't happen. I want to see you can be losing a boxing match but still be great composure, still have great composure. And I just find it's almost like Rocky is now that is obviously a huge cinema. It's a cinema film. It's an old. It's a movie. It's
an
action movie.
Yeah.
Spectacle. Yeah. So when I turned on The Fighter, I wanted the boxing to match the amazing realism of the characters. Like the opening of the film, Christian Bale sitting on the couch talking in mockumentary form. So believable. And his brother sits down with him. So I thought, never seen this. Started to get a bit off with boxing movies. I started thinking, I reckon this one's going to have it. And then when it had the documentary style footage in the boxing ring, I thought, wicked. And then I started hearing a boom, boom, boom,
yeah.
And then no one's ever punched someone. Like, I've seen so many boxing matches. I've never seen one boxer get hit more than 2-3 times at best in the head. Because by the time that fourth one or something comes, they've moved, or the other guy's combo's tired out. But Wahlberg stand there and get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the body, and then they're like, if you don't, it's just like, come on, match the realism. Look at space films; they stopped with the explosions. Be real.
I think it would be a brave step for a boxing film to not have those thuds, because as an audience, we're conditioned to think we should hear that. But I think there is a smart way around it. You focus on the noises of the crowd. You focus on, on the grunts and the just the sound of the ref. As I say, the audience going nuts. The heavy thuds, and like you say, it's every single hit you're hearing. It does take you away from an otherwise really realistic take on the boxing film and stuff like that. And within the boxing fights, I think the transitions are really smart. So you see Mickey go through his journey once Dickie's inside of him boxing independently, and the camera sort of goes from opponent to opponent, like back and forth. And it's really smartly done. Yeah, like you say, the sound effects, it does take something away from it.
They had to, with that montage, I suppose they have to move the story along. They have to show you his success. Yeah, that was done. That was done fine. I take issue. Why not sample real boxing match sounds and just make it a little bit more realistic? Yeah.
I'd be interested to see the reasoning. I'm assuming it's because we sort of think we should be hearing something, and it would be quite odd to not have any noise when the camera's focused on the fight itself. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see a director be like, you know what, we're going to have a really authentic, almost point of view. And there might be a film out there. There might be one that does that, and we just haven't seen it yet. Who knows?
I haven't seen Cinderella Man.
It's a good film. Yeah. But again, from what I remember, I think it's going to be a problem. Yeah. What else didn't you like about it? Or is that you done?
That was me done, man. I couldn't really pick much out of it. I enjoyed the whole film. It was a very complete film.
Yeah, that's the perfect summary of it for me. Yeah. It has a bit of everything, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think my first and main dislike is exactly the same as yours, and it's the squawking family. I can't stand the horde of trashy sisters that get involved in Nikki's boxing pursuits, and they're a constant, aren't they?
Oh,
they don't actually have any words of dialogue. The sisters independently have no character arc. They just look a mess, they sound a mess, and they all chime in as one, like a horde of
they're a murder of rats.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They are a swarm of shrill bloaters that are loud and irritating. That, as we said, the actors do a good job in playing an unlikable and meddling family, but the continuous involvement and sticking their noses in drove me up the fucking wall.
I swear to God, one of them trash sisters in it is also in Gone Baby Gone, which is also set in Boston, and is the one who's next to her friend going, oh yeah. Just like...
Quite possibly. Yeah. There's probably a group of those Bostonites that don't know they're in a film. They just get ushered into a corner, see that there's drama, and they just start squawking because they think it's real life.
I'd unleash them in Moscow. They'd move through Russia quick.
Oh, God, they really fucking would, wouldn't they?
Putin just like climbing over a hill with no clothes on going, no, please stop.
Shut up. Yeah, again, like you, I struggle to find dislikes because it is a complete film that is a roller coaster of emotion. But one thing I did note, and it's only because of you I noted it, is the Wahlberg breathless shouting.
What?
Yeah.
You call us cunts?
Yeah. Every film. And it's something I never noticed until you brought it to my attention, but it is ever present. And once that I clocked that he does it, you can't unhear it. It's like when you realise that Owen Wilson goes, wow. It's the same with Wahlberg and that breathy shouting. Even in quite quiet moments, he's there. Come
on, man.
Yeah,
what?
Exactly that. And if we did a drinking game and did a shot every time he does it in any one of his films, we would be battered by the end of any one of his films.
Freaky Nights, he does it a lot.
Yeah, and I'm lightheaded just doing that little bit just then, so I don't know how he does it for every film so continuously.
Freakings.
Yeah,
Freakings, though, he's got a little valve to try and open up his lung.
Yeah.
He's like, I need to reach this thing on my chest. Yeah?
Yeah, I know it's like a stamp, a trademark of his now. Like I'm sure directors now, like, you know, Ben Stiller does that thing where he gets irritated and goes. He does that in so many of his films. Like I say, the Owen Wilson. Wow, there's so many actors that have that.
It's like Walken's low to high.
Yeah,
pineapple.
Yeah,
I like to eat it.
These are my fucking crisps. Very.
These are my fucking crisps.
Yeah.
What?
And it's a shame because I actually think Wahlberg, now in his moment of his career, he's kind of just a brute. He's kind of he's a individual that takes great care with his body. He's a weightlifter. He's massive, a lot like the Dwayne Johnson, The Rock is.
He's muscular and compact like corned beef.
Exactly that, yeah. Tasty tin of corned beef. But in every film now, he is just that brute force. So he's getting these action roles and he's doing that breathless Wahlberg stuff, which I think's a shame because there is a talent there. He doesn't have to do it in every film.
Boogie Nights was his pinnacle of success as an actor.
Yeah.
He plays... vulnerable, underachieving guy who becomes porn star because of his penis size so well.
And he's not just a big shithouse.
No, he's just lean, young.
Yeah,
he's quite young when he does that film, but he's just lean, you know.
Yeah,
and I think he plays that role perfectly. I mean, he tears up in it. He's passionate in it. He's angry. He's on drugs. It's probably one of his best.
I'd say so. Yeah, I'd say The Fighter, where he's a bit of he plays a boxer, so of course he's going to be a physical specimen. I'd say the Boogie Nights and Departed, where he was allowed to be full Wahlberg because he was just a dick in that film. But yeah, it's a shame that he now seems to be getting into that sort of body of work where he's just he will be with Kevin Hart. He'll be the Brawn it'll be buddy cop thing or something. Or like he's in the recent Uncharted where again he was just the brute. And it's a shame because he is charming, he is charismatic. I quite like him as an on-screen presence.
I think he's a cool dude. He doesn't have this sort of dick persona outside of what he does work-wise. I think he's probably And he likes a laugh. I mean, he's working the other guys. You can tell the guy laughs. Like him and Will Ferrell's outtakes and bloopers from the other guys. You know,
Ted.
Ted. Yeah. But yeah, right. Yeah, he's. I suppose he's gone through. He's going into sort of an early McConaugheying stage where he's just doing what's fun and what comes to him. But,
doing a lot of Netflix originals now, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's a shame. I've got some questions. I know you aren't a fan of Bale's dramatic changing of weight. Do you think his weight loss for the character of Dickie Eklund was warranted and added an air of believability to the performance?
Yeah, I think it's warranted. I think he might have gone a bit too far. Only looking at the real Dickie Eklund, I think he never looked that gaunt.
Yeah,
but
I mean the real Dickie Eklund's a slender man, but like you say, Christian Bale in this is really. Yeah, and he does. I think it's
it weren't machinist thin.
No, that was like medically dangerous machinist. Like I don't know how he's
that's
able.
Where it bothers me because I'm like,
well,
it's a film.
If you look at it, there's people out there that have got genuine disorders, anorexia and stuff, and he's doing it for a part. Now I know you haven't seen The Machinist. No. I do think I think the film's very good. I think he's excellent in it. And the character within that film is this really troubled insomniac where in the context of being an audience member, you don't know why he is in the shape he's in, and that unfolds as the story progresses. So I think like he is in this, I think he does overdo it. And in The Machinist, there's a few scenes with his shirt off, and it's horrible. It is like watching someone who's malnourished. It's you see every rib in his rib cage, every bump in his spine. It is horrible to see. So I do appreciate and understand when you say you can go too far, and I would even go as far as say I agree with you with some of the roles. But this one, I think,
might be an age thing. When I was younger, I coveted that type of acting. With my own aspirations to be an actor, I thought there is nothing I wouldn't do to be an actor. I would, if they was like, you're a heroin addict, I'd be like, I need to find heroin. But I think as I got older and more bitter, I probably look at it now and I'm just like, there's great performances and great films out there that don't require all of this method. And he's not always doing it, I suppose, but like from, if you can count, I think maybe 4 or 5 huge body transformations. It's just become one of it's his makeup now. And you expect it, I suppose. For me, it's lost its appeal. But yeah, I don't watch Machinist, not because of moral issues, but I think it frustrates me that he put himself to that point, like you were saying, and then you think of like people that have genuine malnutrition or starvation, and people in the world that
it's not a choice for
don't want to be that way.
Yeah,
and I suppose he's doing it to get an Oscar. What's your end game to make such a drastic change to your body? No script or no film company would ever require him to lose so much weight.
Yeah.
I mean, Castaway was quite a cool transformation with Hanks. Very relevant to the storyline. I suppose Machinist must have its reasons.
Well, he does the same in Rescue Dawn. I don't know if you've seen that film.
Great film.
Yeah.
Love it. That's Herzog, isn't it?
Yeah, he plays a prisoner of war. So him being malnourished and effectively starving, it makes sense for the story. Yeah. But I guess the main point of your problem and perspective is just the frequency in which he does it. It's like, we know you can do that now. Like, come on.
So Rescue Dawn, Machinist, and now The Fighter. He's lost drastic. He's underweight.
And I think the latest David O. Russell film, Amsterdam, I haven't seen it, but I've seen images of Christian Bale in that, and he's very, very slim in that. Not Machinist or Rescue Dawn level slim, but I'd say on par with his performance as Dickie Eklund, that slim.
If a thief broke into his house and was going through his wardrobe looking for watches and that, I reckon that thief would shit himself and leave because he'd think 12 guys lived there. Fucking pants.
I guess if he's an actor that's transitioning through weights all the time, different weights, he's going to have clothes for his everyday to fit that.
Clothes wastage.
Yeah. Whoa. Maybe I'd like to see in his closet and read his cooking book.
Probably find Tom Cruise in there.
Yeah. What 2 actors would you like to see fight each other in a charity boxing match?
Oh, that's awesome. Warwick Davis.
Why have you gone there? What? And Stephen Merchant?
No, Warwick Davis and Rob De Niro.
Why?
Willow.
That's the reason why you want to see a small man and an OAP fight.
You wouldn't want to see that?
I mean, I'd watch it.
Is it a boxing match?
Yeah, for charity.
Yeah, so it'd be funny, wouldn't it? Yeah.
But because of the size difference and the age difference?
Well, it'd be a challenge for both of them. One's really old and one's really short.
It'd be an interesting fight. Don't think it'd last long.
Ding, ding, ding.
Over round 1.
Yeah.
Who'd win? De Niro.
It depends. If
De Niro played...
Would De Niro commit?
I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. I had a few ideas in my head where your answer might go. That was nowhere in the hemisphere of what I thought you'd say.
Yeah.
I thought you'd go Big Brute against Big Brute. I thought you'd go heartthrobs like Gosling versus
Don't underestimate
Pitt.
Warwick Davis.
Oh, I'm not.
You imagine him going at your knees? Be brilliant.
Yeah, not for Robert De Niro, wouldn't.
No, but he'd just kick him, wouldn't he?
Okay, thanks for that. I think I would go, if I could go back to their prime, I'd love to see like Schwarzenegger and Stallone slug it out. Because they're both physical specimens, and obviously Stallone has a lot of training for his role as Rocky. I think that would be a cool one. Maybe Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson against Khal Drogo. What's his name? Jason Momoa.
Yeah,
that'd be quite good. But again, these people look.
I think a lot of women would tune into that one.
God, yeah, 100%. Yeah, they'd make a lot of money for charity there. But I think physically that would be a good fight, but probably realistically, they're probably not brawlers.
It would look like a wrestling match, that one.
You know
they
what?
look so clean and sheen.
There is a correct answer, and I think the correct answer is Matt Damon versus Ben Affleck, because they're mates. Love to see him rock.
Damon would win.
Reckon?
I think Damon would get on his
know.
inside and just rock him with nasty hooks, whereas Affleck would have one power punch because he's a bit taller, maybe a bit of a distance to it. I still prefer the Warwick Davis De Niro bout.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Maybe we can try and make it happen.
Yeah.
What would you rate the fighter out of 10?
8.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that's exactly what I gave it.
8, only because, like I said, I struggle to love boxing films. I've yet to see one that has really blown my mind in terms of the boxing. In terms of crack, this is a great crack film.
This is an amazing crack film.
It's a great crack film.
Yeah.
It's not a great boxing film.
Yeah, and it's worth saying that the way it sort of portrays the crack addiction. It'd be so easy to look down your nose at it and so easy to villainize the people do it. But it does give the audience sort of a level of empathy and sympathy for people that, you know, through tough life experiences, through whatever they've gone through, turn to it as a form of escape. And it sort of blends that sort of feeling sorry for them and also really like thinking how awful that must be to be in at the end of your tether to go that route. So yeah, I'd go like I said with 8 as well. That gives The Fighter a total score of 16 out of 20. If you like your films to be based on a true story with a perfect blend of comedy and drama, or if you like to see Bale body morphosis and Wahlberg breathy shouting, then The Fighter could be a film for you. Consider watching this one if you enjoyed Raging Bull, Cinderella Man and The Wrestler. Should we play a game?
Si, senor.
The game in question is What the Plot, where the rules are simple and the results quite the opposite. Harry will conceive an original idea from his big and beautiful brain and give birth to a plot. It is then down to me to nurture this thought by providing a film title, genre, cast, and anything else I can think of to raise this brainchild into a fully functioning film concept. Over to you, Harry.
Single place setting.
Oh.
Set in a theme park, but the scene that we're going to be sort of majority kept is on the front cart of a roller coaster that's just hit at high speed, another cart ahead of it. And we're going to be in the front cart with a couple who've pinned their legs. They've crushed their legs. Someone behind them's died. And it's going to literally be the scene of this boyfriend-girlfriend in the front in agony on a roller coaster waiting to be rescued. They're at the top. They're surviving with just pure pain and fear. So you're following their story in the cart the whole time. Obviously, in the distance down below them, they can see ambulances. They can see people surmising, trying to figure out how to get up there to rescue them. And it's just, I'd say it's an hour and 20 minutes of this just very, very, very graphic, very heartbreaking tragedy stuck on a roller coaster. Your legs are pretty much gone, broken, smashed to smithereens. You know, there's other people, but not many, maybe let's say 7 or 8 characters, but your 2 main ones are a guy and a girl who are on a date, or, you know, they're boyfriend, girlfriend, and they're now stuck in this horrible situation. They're both conscious, they can talk to each other, support each other, but they're writhing in pain, and it's just a very difficult watch. That's what it feels.
Okay. I do like that idea.
I can give you other single settings.
No, I like that single setting.
No, I meant for ideas.
No, I like that.
Okay.
I think that's quite strong.
Starts off like a lovely date. Like, you're just seeing this happy, theme park feel going on. They've gone on rides, they've eaten, they've kissed, they're having a beautiful, beautiful time. Then they go on this coaster, and this has actually happened. I think this happened in the UK, didn't it? Alton Towers.
Did it really?
Yeah, it did happen. Yeah, and they had to have their legs amputated. Yeah, it actually happened in real life. That's what, I don't think I went to a theme park again after I read that. But yeah, they go on a lovely date, and then they go on this one ride, and just because of some malfunction or something, one cart didn't actually get back off the line. And as they've come around a loop going really fast, they've hit it, and all the G-forces come forward. And then you're watching their just struggle. I think it would be a really hard watch, I suppose 127 hours or something. But yeah, or Buried, or Phone Booth.
Yeah, it's worth me saying that I love single setting films. I think they're great.
And they don't require to be much longer than an hour and 15, hour and 20. They don't really need to be very long-winded.
They don't need... You don't need 2 hours of just pure peril. And there's only so much you can do.
Single setting.
Yeah. So I would... I've got a few little things that I'd not necessarily adjust, but ideas just to sort of play around with it a little
I'll allow it.
So I see it as this could be the owner of... amusement park, really, really well-established owner of an amusement park who's met a new love interest in his later life, and he waits till this amusement park's closed, and he's going to go on the roller coaster, and right at the top he's going to propose or something, make a grand gesture because he's in later life and he wants to do this really romantic big gesture.
It's entirely different.
No, it's not. It's still set in it's still a single setting. It's still in a amusement park. Does he take a knee? I don't know. We'd have to look at the physics of the cart that they were in.
Okay.
But I think in these sorts of films, it's very easy to have very young and attractive actors at the helm. So I would have it a bit more an older guy and an older woman, just to mix it up a bit. Single setting type environment. I like the idea. As I say, I love single setting, and I'd see it being this real dramatic, tense affair. So just to recap, it's a single place set in a theme park. The film's from the perspective of a front cart which has crashed right at the top. All the roller coaster is jammed.
They're up high enough that it's hard to rescue them.
Yeah. So they're
Is it night time?
Yeah, I'm making it light.
So no one else is there?
No one's there.
So they'll only get rescued in the morning?
But I see it as they get to the top and it jolts or something, so maybe their phone gets out.
No, but I need their legs to break.
Why do you need you just want their legs to break? Well, it makes it more difficult.
Because that was it happened in real life. So
okay.
I don't want them to just be... That's a comedy. If they don't get...
their legs break.
Injured...
Their legs break.
Yeah, because
there has to be peril within the peril.
You've totally changed it.
No, I haven't totally changed it.
You're saying they get to the top of a roller coaster and they get stuck and he proposes. That's a comedy. But them having a horrific crash during the day.
The proposal is why they're there. So if the roller coaster's if it's at night and he owns the theme park, they go up there so he can look over the city and he does a big gesture of proposal. So that's why they're there. That's no one else is there. Because if they was there in the middle of the day and they got trapped, I would imagine there's all sorts of safety protocols to get them in. When they go up, his phone could fall out or something. I don't know. I haven't thought this out. You gave the idea. I'm trying to flesh it out. Anyway.
I'm offended.
You're not offended. No, this is good. I'm just adding flesh to it.
You're not.
It's still your story.
I want flesh to be taken away from the bones.
Right. They both break their legs. They break their legs because the guy who's proposing...
No, they break their legs because they hit another cart at full speed.
Okay, that's what happened. But the reason they're there in the first place and no one else is around is because the guy owns the amusement park and he wants to propose when there's no one else around looking over the sea. That's how that's what's come into my head. It's helpless that they're... I have not changed your plot. There's still a couple of people that get the roller coaster malfunctions. They break both their legs. They're fucked. They're stuck at the top. It's single setting. They're not saved straight away. Everything's still the same.
In agony.
They're in agony.
Yes.
The only thing I've really changed is instead of these being young, bright things that are young and attractive, they're older people.
I never said attractive.
Okay, well, I saw them as attractive because most movie stars are attractive, let's be honest. So I'd have older people. I'd have Richard Jenkins and Catherine Keener stuck in a roller coaster cart at the top.
Who's Catherine Keener? Why I forget this?
She's the mum in Get Out, and she's been in so many things.
Well, the
40-year-old virgin.
Yes.
Capote.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yes.
Being John
That's
Malkovich.
right.
Yeah, she's great. And Richard Jenkins.
He's great.
he's amazing. So
all my life I wanted to be a dinosaur.
yeah. So just an interesting little twist in a single setting film is it's an elderly, not elderly, that's disrespectful.
I think they'd die.
An older couple.
I don't think they'd be found alive, mate.
But you could have Catherine Keener's terrified of heights, but he's Rich Jenkins' character's being like he owns the role at the theme park.
Imagine that. You're totally safe, honey. Bloody hell.
Yeah, legs broken, crashed. His phone falls out. Maybe he needs
the phone. You love the fucking phone.
Well, because
what's the phone?
If they had the phone, it would just be 911. Excuse me, we're stuck on a roller coaster. It's like, okay, we'll send over a fire engine. Done.
No,
without that,
I've read no.
So they're easily saved.
They're not easily saved. Do you know how hard it is to get fucking paramedics off a roller coaster and get
they would just get them down.
No,
they would just get them down.
It's all smashed and down. All right.
Well, it would be easier to get them down if there was a phone.
Look, I said it earlier. I prefer the realism. So I just, I read a real story. I wanted to get that into a film.
To make it an interesting film,
you've made it an iPhone film.
Yeah, it is an iPhone film. Yeah, but he's dropped his iPhone.
Touchscreen.
So it's just black screen.
I'll allow everything you've said if you now say it's set in the 90s.
Yeah.
And it's with a flip phone and it's not a touchscreen.
Okay, no, it's set in the 90s, so this debacle with phone is not even there because there's no mobile phone.
It's just it's a flip phone.
There's no phone.
Nokia 7610 or whatever it's called.
It is set in 1978 when phones weren't a thing. How about that? The angle I was going, I think the older generation of people aren't always represented in film, and instead of seeing this schmoozy young couple go up to the top, I've added the proposal in, all right?
It's not schmoozy. It was just like a date that goes terribly wrong. But the reason I wanted it to be horrible and in the day and crowds watching and seeing is because you're stuck on the roller coaster with this couple and they're in agony. They're barely, they've been dating and stuff, and now they're living in this horrific moment together. And down below them is people trying to figure out how to save them. You turned it into a sleepover on a roller coaster with a mobile phone. Come help us.
No, they don't. That doesn't happen because the mobile phone falls.
So we see a scene of a mobile phone falling, and that's their death sentence.
No, but shut up. Because your story's a non-story as well.
Seal it, dog. Name it.
Your story's a non-story as well. Because if there's people there just
my story's a real story, essentially, because it has actually happened. It has actually happened.
All right, well, directing the film is Rodrigo Cortés, who did Buried, because he's a single setting director, and we know he can do it. And I'd call the film Roller Coaster.
Oh, God. That's terrible.
Set in 1978, when mobile phones weren't a thing. What? No, it is set now. No, pre-phone setting, a theme park owner. Later in their life, they aren't older. It is a young couple, set in the day. It is set at night. They are stuck without a phone. They have a phone. They do not have a phone. A phone means they are easily saved. No, it doesn't. Stop changing the film. I am not. I am fleshing it out. Bollocks. It is set now, in the day. There is broken legs and peril. There is peril, but at night, with no phone. In 1978. No, this is not what I pitched. Fuck you. No, fuck you. It is at night. There is no phone. It's 78. It's called Roller Coaster. It is directed by Rodrigo Cortés and stars Richard Jenkins and Catherine Keener. I will have no part in this. I don't need you. Roller Coaster will be a thrill ride with loads of ups and downs. I'm going now. Good. Roller Coaster coming soon.